Sunshine, coming to you today, one day after my 21-day fast. I'm so happy it is over. But is it really over? Well, I'm here to share my journey with you. And as I'm going to turn down this music, I'm listening to Fred Hammond, Success is in Your Hands. Beautiful, beautiful song. And it's so appropriate for the day because success is in our hands if you just follow the plan. And my plan was to follow this 21-day fast. So here I come to you today on August 12th, 2013, Monique, Nubia, Sunshine. One day renewed, reborn, refreshed, and recreated after my fasting. Feeling great. Feeling great physically. Feeling great mentally because of the accomplishments. But also feeling a little overwhelmed because of what was achieved and the things that I've learned about myself and the things I'm still learning even to this very day. So the fasting continues. It really continues. It doesn't end because mentally we decided or physically we decided to end it. But it continues with what you've learned and what you've accomplished and what you've achieved and what you've gained during that fast. And I say to do a 21-day fast is no joke. Like initially when I talked about it, it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this fast as a part of my Reiki attunement and I'm going to cleanse and purge all these things and I'm going to become new. But doing it is altogether something different. For those who do it for 30 days and 40 days, you guys got that in the bag. Me trying this for the first time for 21 days was like, wow, Monique, you're really ambitious. And definitely that, but even more so willing to grow and willing to face me. And the first week of me fasting really mostly consisted of, as you guys all know, I do a juice fast, a total juice fast. But it consisted of me juicing. First 3 days I blended because I didn't have my juicer at the time. But I was making smoothies out of fresh fruit and vegetables using no sugar, using coconut milk or almond milk, making sure that my contents did not have any sugar in it. Actually, the fruits were very sweet, and if you're using beets and you're using apples, you're going to get that natural sweetener anyway, so I really didn't need sugars or of any kind. Even within between the fasting, I was doing the juicing, the drink that I normally do, which is the lemon, the honey, and the water, but I took out the honey and being consistent with not using any sugars, you know. And even though honey is a natural sugar, I just really didn't want to use that. I wanted to keep and maintain what I was getting from the fruits and vegetables. So during the first week of that fasting, I was all excited because I was making all these concoctions and coming up with these fabulous smoothie ideas. And as you guys seen, as I posted on Instagram and Facebook, all the recipes of what I was coming up with. This was really some oblong connections that I was making with these fruits and vegetables. But they were turning out so delicious. And so the first week was more the excitement about that. Even more meditating, more time in my meditation. Rather than doing a 20-minute or 30-minute meditation, I was doing hour-long meditations. And hour and a half long. Even sometimes not even wanting to come out of a meditation in the morning was just like fabulous, but I knew I needed to get my day started. So, but it was a beautiful introduction to the day, and then going into drinking my juice. So, and then meditating, having meditations on my phone, which are like 3-minute, 5-minute meditations where I can actually get that little bit of regrouping during the middle of the day, and then come back home and do a meditation in the evening after I do a juicing dinner. And my juicing dinners were like actually lighter than the morning. So in the morning I would definitely have a smoothie, and then towards the evening would be like a lighter juice itself. You know, and with the blender it was kind of challenging. So when I got the juicer, it was a lot easier to have those light dinner juices at the end of the day, and it kind of worked for me. So my second week of fasting was a little bit more challenging because I had to decide, okay, what kind of mixtures can I come up with now? I'm kind of bored with that, so let me try some other things. And that's when I started getting into doing the soups. Taking the sweet potato and boiling it, and then putting it into the blender, and then adding the broccoli from the juicer, and just making my own soup that way. And it turned out very nicely. I was pleasantly surprised about the concoctions I was coming up with. It was just amazing. And but with that also, the mental part of my fasting became more challenging, because as in the first week with doing all the juicing, I wasn't taking in enough liquids as far as water was concerned, because I was so caught up in the whole, I'm juicing, I'm doing this. I did my first week. You know, by the time I got to the second week, my body started to let me know, sister, you are dehydrated. Like the dizziness, the nausea, the lightheadedness, and just the overall starting to feel a little ill, and tired and lethargic, was me being dehydrated. So I needed more water intake, you know, and with taking in strictly vegetables, I needed to consistently be juicing or drinking water all day. That needed to be the primary thing. Actually, that needed to be the foundation, and then the juice on top of it. But I started to learn that within the second week, and began to take in more water and more lemon, and body started to react a little bit better. So I've gotten a lot better feeling from doing that. When I started to come into the third week, very challenging. Very challenging and emotional. Like I'm getting teary-eyed now talking about it, because it was just really dealing with me. It was no longer about what I was juicing. I was still doing it. You know, what I was eating, I was still doing that, you know, with the juicing. But it was more like, okay, so you're fasting. What are you doing this for? You know, it was that way the first 2 weeks, but this is when it's real. When all the issues started to come, and I had to look at myself in the mirror, and I had to look at my physical, and I had to look at who I really am, and what am I doing, and why am I doing, and what's happening with your business, and what's happening with you emotionally, and what's happening in your love life, or what's not happening in your love life, what's happening in your family, the conflict that you're having with certain family members. Are you resolving that? Because that was coming into my face. I mean, even though with the meditations and stuff, you're communicating with the Almighty, but even in my own downtime and thinking, and clearing my mind of so many different things. When you're clearing your body of toxic foods, your mind gets clear. And your mind starts to think about all those things that you push to the side or push to the back, because now you're clear, in clear view, in present time, of thinking about everything that you need to presently deal with. And I have family conflict, and I have personal conflict with self, and just other relationships, things that needed to be dealt with that wasn't being dealt with. And then fasting brought me into clear awareness of what is your role in that, and what do you need to do in order to fix that. So it was just amazing. And as I continued to fast and continue to meditate during the daytime, because like some of my evening meditation started to linger out, because I began to be distracted by the real, the really real that is going on in my life. Like the real that nobody sees real. The real that you don't see when this goes off. You know, the real things. I even started to become more aware about the plants in my house. You know, where my plants were growing and flourishing and beautiful and dancing and singing to the music with me and my family. As one particular plant started dying. And I kept saying to myself, why is this plant dying? I'm watering it. I'm giving it the sun that it needs. I'm doing my Reiki healing on it to try to heal it. And there's a part of the plant that's growing, but there's another big portion of the plant that's dying. You know, and just to show you, like, it's amazing. Like, this plant was like, this is what's left of the plant now. Okay? I'm going to show you just the rest of the body of the plant and how bare it is. Like, amazes me. And I felt like maybe it's the soil, you know. And what I did was I took it out of the soil and got all these roots and stuff like that and put it in new soil. I put it in a new uh, plant, a pot. And this is what continues to grow. Beautiful. And this was the entire plant. Not at its full bloom, but this is what it is. And it amazes me that all the leaves came off like I was having fall. Like, as you can see at the bottom, there's like, there's like one leaf. It's amazing. So I started to pay attention to that, and I was just like, my plant is dying. And I don't know why my plant is dying. So it made me look at the apartment as a whole and say something is not right in my apartment. My meditations are fewer and fewer in this second to third week. My, just overall thinking now is more dealing with resolving issues, financial issues, how to be able to overcome certain obstacles, running a small business, how to be able to push product out there that I don't fully have completed for my September show. Working with vendors and working on my own is down to crunch time. Worrying about that, worrying about my children, worrying about my grandchildren, and worrying about, and just worrying. And it's like, Monique, you wasn't worrying about these things like 2 weeks ago. What the heck is going on? But not so much worrying, but now it's coming into reality where it's like, look at this. Where before it was like, look at this, and I was like, where it's like, look at this, and I'm like, and it's not moving. So I was like, there's things I have to deal with, and this plant dying is a symbolism of me having to clean. Like, you did this fasting to clean, so you need to clean everything. If you're cleaning your body, why would your body be the only clean thing in this house? And not to say my house was filthy, because it wasn't filthy surface-wise. But there was some internal cleansing, like mopping the floors, lighting the sage, getting the candles burning, changing the energy, and stop doing certain things that was not productive for my fast. Like having conversations that were not positive on some aspects. There were some, and just other things that should not have been happening as I'm fasting. So it was my reality setting in and saying, you're fasting for a purpose, you're fasting for growth. Well, you got to clean this apartment, meaning that you've got to get rid of old papers. You've got to get rid of things that are no longer the present. You've got to get rid of, you're talking about mindfulness, and you're telling people about mindfulness, and yes, you're in mindfulness, but is your apartment in present time? Do you have past things that are lingering in this apartment that need to be cleaned out, that need to be purged, like you're purging yourself? So how are you then going to come in here and sleep at night, and you've got a closet full of clothes that you don't need anymore, and shoes that you don't need. You got papers that are old papers that should be shredded and thrown out. You have old situations that need to be dealt with today because now they're in front of your face. They're no longer sitting back here waiting for me to push it back further. They're now in your face, so now you have to deal with it. And that third week of fasting was the most kick-ass week, where I had to deal with that, where I had to deal with just personal family issues again. And I found myself in a place a day before my last day of fasting, picking up the phone to call my mother and realizing that I'm dialing my mother, who is no longer here, asking her to pray for me. And that's when everything really purged. I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I realized that I haven't dealt with that. I haven't grieved completely. I still was holding on to some things. And the fast brought me into that reality. And it's tough. Yesterday on my last day, it was like every food in the world came popping out at me. Not to mention like a couple of days earlier, but just like, I'm a vegetarian and a hamburger looked delicious to me. And it was like, me calling my mom and wishing she was there to pray for me really set me in a place of saying, wow, she's not physically here. Energetically, she's here. But physically, you can't just say, Mom, can you pray for me? You know, so now you have to deal with that reality and everything that is around it, and you have to make change for real. So that's why when I say fasting is no joke, if you're really into what you're doing and you're not doing it because there's a group of people in your church or in your organization or a group of you friends just deciding to do it for a certain goal, I encourage you to do it individually, because there's some real things that on the surface that you're not dealing with that becomes deep rooted, deep seated, and becomes a part of who you are. And you wonder why you connect to this negative thing and you connect to that negative thing. And you're like, why the hell do I attract this thing in my life? Because there's some things in there that need to be gone, that need to be gotten out of your system. And fasting will enable you to do that, to purge, to clean everything, not just your physical, your mental, your spiritual, and your home. And once you decide to clean all of those things out, like I'm getting rid of my idiot box. I still didn't get rid of it, but I'm getting rid of it. It's toxic. It's poisonous. It's hypnotizing. It brainwashes. I want it out. And if I'm going to clean this completely and get all the toxins out, then the toxins in my home need to come out. The smells and things that come from outside need to come out. The plants that are not dying need to live, because they're producing oxygen to continue to circulate beauty in here. My floors need to be totally mopped. Like, not surface mopped, hands, knees, in corners mopped. Like, all these things need to be purged and clean as I'm purging myself. And that's just my belief behind it. So what I say to you in this all, it's so important, so important. It is vital to your life to fast, to cleanse, because you hold all those things, and those things will kill you. They will follow you. You will attract negative. You will have negative situations that repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. You'll have low self-esteem. There's so many things that come with not purging and cleansing your body, and eventually there is death. You know, so I come to you, that is a lot. That is a lot, but it is a lot that I'm going through, and I'm still dealing with it. The fast is not over. You know, the physical fast is over, but the mental fast is still here. I'm still cleaning and purging. It doesn't just happen like that, you know, and I understand why now people take 40 days, and maybe next time I will do that. I definitely will consider it, because it's something that's still needed. But I thank you guys for checking me out. I was a bit long-winded, but I hope I was able to share a message. I hope I was able to encourage you with the fasting, and I hope I'm able to continue to give. Most of all, I got to give to myself, so I'll be able to have enough fuel to be able to get back to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being there as a support. Namaste.